So welcome everyone again. I'm Naomi from Monday. I'm really happy to be here and see all of you. Today we're going to talk about marketing in times of uncertainty from different angles. We'll have 4 sessions of 10 minutes each with a Q&A session at the end. So if any question is unanswered in the end, since we're not going to have much time, feel free to email us and we'll get back to you. I'd like to also let you know that both companies are hiring, Monday and Appsflyer, so feel free to send us your resume afterwards. Look on the relevant positions on the website. Please welcome Yael, our content leader from monday.com. Thank you, Yael.
Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us today. Next slide, please. Great. So I'm going to cover today 3 lessons for content teams during crises. Next slide. So first, a bit about Monday. Monday.com is a work OS, a digital workspace of sorts, where teams can run their processes, their projects, their everyday work by creating a board that is completely customizable, and you can integrate with all of your favorite tools from Excel to Salesforce, anything you want really. And the platform is made to be completely customizable and manage any kind of work. Next slide, please. And a little bit more about Monday. We were launched in early 2014. We've raised about 234 million in capital, and our ARR is around 150 million. We've got 2 major offices, one in Tel Aviv and one in New York. We just opened up a new office in Sydney, and we are planning on opening offices in London, San Francisco, and Miami to grow our team from, right now we're around a little over 400. We're going to grow to around 700 by the end of the year. So as Naomi mentioned at the beginning of this session, please feel free to check out our marketing opportunities. We have lots of great positions available, and send us your resume. Next slide, please. So here at Monday, we completely revamped our entire messaging when this coronavirus pandemic began emerging. And our journey to getting there took some time. And I'm here to share a couple of the lessons we learned as we shifted our messaging and why we decided it was the right thing for us to do. Next slide, please. So 3 major lessons that we learned. The first is to be true. Be true to your product, be true to your company, and be true to yourself. I'll go through all of these in more detail. The second is to give, don't just take. And the third is to stay human. So let's talk about what each of these mean. Be true. Next slide, please. So before we even began to think about whether we should shift our messaging, we thought about 3 major questions and really went introspective to understand whether this made sense for our company and it made sense for our product. So for the first question was, is this the right market opportunity for us? And that meant actually looking at our product and saying, are we really a solution for work from home? The answer was a resounding yes. Some would even argue that Monday is uniquely and solely used for work from home. It's much more than that, but it was very uniquely positioned to be a work from home product because it helps you manage your processes and projects from anywhere, no matter where your team is. One slide back, please. The second question was whether we could authentically contribute during this situation to our customers and the public. Did we have actual guidance, materials that we could contribute? And again, the answer was yes. Our company, because we use the platform, operates at a really high level of organizational readiness to transition from work from home. And the second was, how do we move faster and in alignment? So, we had to respond to this quickly. So how do we, get together and make sure that content, SEO, user acquisition, growth, product marketing, everybody was working together and in sync. And that involved really the leadership unifying all of us around a singular goal and saying, this is now our priority. We're all going to shift to this because it is really, really strategic. And it's not something that's just going to end after this pandemic ends. This is going to be a real vertical that we'll pursue. Next slide. Next slide. So the most important lesson is to be true to your company and your product. If you're not being authentic and the solution is not actually true for your company and your product, your shift in messaging will really come off as one note and potentially give people a bad taste in your mouth. Next slide, please. So some of the content goals we therefore established for work from home and for remote work was to establish ourselves as thought leaders, create quality content that really gives something back, and that's what I'm going to discuss in the next slide, and then providing our customers and the market with the resources that they can use to either use our platform or amplify what they're already doing. So again, this idea of giving back. Next slide, please. So give, don't just take. What does that mean? As marketers, oftentimes we're taking, we're trying to get people to sign up. We're trying to get people to do things. And this was a lot about giving. This was a really difficult time for a lot of us. So what could we do to give back? That was something that we really, really focused on. Next slide. So what we did/gave, we focused on value-driven website changes. I'll go through all of these. We focused on creating a mini site full of resources for our customers and for the public. We created specialized content within the product and email marketing, as well as do good initiatives. And in addition to all of this, Iris is going to discuss all the things we did on the user acquisition side, but we also completely shifted our product marketing, our sales pitches, our product roadmap. Everything shifted in order to give back to our customers during this time. Next slide, please. So value-driven website changes, we focused a lot on providing things like templates. So things that you could immediately take and begin using within Monday to better manage things like you'll see, a COVID-19 communications plan, risk assessment, quarantine status. We revamped our solutions page, our use case page on our website to put a lot of the quality content we had produced, things like case studies, more templates, things like that, to really give much more back to our customers. Next slide, please. We also created a remote work mini site with things like product updates, tips on remote work, Monday on Monday, which meant like what we were doing at Monday to respond to this, how our HR shifted, how our product team shifted. We've created tons of amazing customer stories showing impact on how our customers had transitioned easily to working from home with Monday. Again, more templates, and we also did some fun posts on remote work, fun BuzzFeed style posts that would really kind of lighten the mood. And of course, thought leadership, points and content that elevated us as experts in this field. Next slide, please. We focused on new email marketing and product content, new intro messages to new users, email marketing directly from our CEO that talked about everything we're doing as a company at this time. Again, all with the focus of giving something back. We shared the letter that we wrote to all of our employees in the hopes that it would help our customers in the sense of they would have now a template to work off of. Next slide, please. We did a lot of do-good initiatives. We offered the platform completely free to any NGO that was fighting COVID-19. And just offered the platform completely free of charge. We had tons of NGOs and nonprofits that were using our platform. Here's an amazing case study from the Israeli government. They organized all of their COVID-19 response on our platform. So that was something we really put front and center. Next slide. And all of this comes down to staying human. It was really important for us in all of our messaging and all of our content that we produced. Everything that I just showed you was this idea of being human, giving something back, using words and using language that empathized with people and wasn't just hollow. Next slide. So for instance, we saw really amazing, this is just a little bit, a small taste of all the amazing feedback we got on our content and on our email marketing, things like, I feel like I contributed in the tiniest bit, it's amazing to see your actions turning into, turning your actions into real things that are helping us as customers. And this was directly because in our emails, we asked them to write us back, let us know how they're feeling. Simple words that really made a big impact. Next slide. And we did have a large impact. We saw a 73% increase in page views, about 189,000 organic page views from our launch date to the present, again, over a period of 2 months. That represented a 22% increase. We saw a 64% increase in signups from our blog posts, And our templates posts really provided the most value, these templates that were just easy to use and get started. Sometimes things didn't work out as well as we wanted. For paid placements, it didn't do as well in terms of collection and paid user goals. Just echoing that, the content has to be matched to the metric that we need. Next slide, please. Because of the way that we targeted our SEO when we looked at organic growth, and we made sure that, again, this only worked because our product really fit work from home. If it didn't, we wouldn't have focused like this, because this wasn't a short-term strategy for us. This was a long-term strategy. And just to be clear, what you're seeing here, the search volume isn't accurate, but you can see the rankings that we got, and we got very impressive rankings by really focusing on work from home and providing quality content that was also optimized. Next slide. So really just in sum, be true to yourself, be true to your product, be true to your company. Give, don't just take. Always think about what you can give back to your customers, and stay human. These are tough times. Everybody's struggling. What can you do to be human and provide a human touch? So those are 3 lessons that we learned. And with that, I'd like to turn it over to Shani Rosenfelder, Head of Content and Mobile Insights, who's going to talk about how to leverage data in your content.
Hey, everybody. Great to be here. Thanks, Yael. So I've been notified we are at 140 people, so that's great. Happy everyone could join today. As Yael said, my name is Shani. I lead content and mobile insights at Appsflyer. Today, we're going to talk about how to leverage data in your content. This is always true, now especially more than ever. So a few words about Appsflyer before we get started. Appsflyer is a mobile attribution and marketing analytics company. What that means is that we help marketers leverage data to make smart marketing decisions. We have 18 offices across the globe, over 1,000 employees, almost 300 million capital raised, and an ARR of 170 million. Here you can see some pictures of our lovely Tel Aviv office, just outside of Tel Aviv. Yeah, the name of the content marketing team at Appsflyer is actually called Content and Mobile Insights. Next slide. Specifically, Mobile Insights. Okay, so this is a part of our official title of the team. Why is that? Because mobile insights and data are a central part of what we do here. So just a little bit of background on how this started. So when I started at Appsflyer almost, well, actually more than 5 years ago, it was clear to me from pretty much day one that when a company with the authority that Appsflyer had and the amount of data that we have, it only made sense to really look at data and data trends and insights and use it as a central part of our content strategy. Since then, it has become by far our most successful type of content, hands down. Next slide. I want to ask, let's go to a poll now and see. I'm interested to see what you guys are thinking. Can we get the poll up? So yeah, the question is, do you use data to power your content? Yes, but only third-party data from online research, so just things you get online, not your own data. Yes, I use my company's own aggregated data, or you don't use data in your content marketing. Okay. Basically, I think that what we see here is that, oh, these are really great results. So 72% of the people who responded use their company's own aggregated data. That's amazing. That's really surprising, actually. Okay, let's move on. So but really, there is no better way to establish your brand as an authority, right? We know content marketing, at the end of the day, what we do here, what our job is to establish the company as a thought leader, as an expert in its respective field. So if you want to be Usain Bolt in content, then you just should use data. Next slide. Why is that? Well, facts and figures go a long way. Ultimately, it's the difference between theory and practice. Of course, words are bread and butter, okay, and it's super important. But at the end of the day, when we have data to back things up, that is where our audience gets the most value and it's actionable. So for us as a company in Appsflyer, I mean, our target audience are performance marketers. For them, data-driven insights is what they look at every day. And for them, it is the most valuable type of content by far. Any tech company, B2B, B2B, B2C, that has data should have that, that same type of audience, with audience that is very much data-driven. Second, we have reporters, analyst firms. Reporters, analyst firms are extremely interested in data. Really, the only way you can nowadays get coverage pretty much is by providing a unique angle, and many times this is data and the trends that you see in the market. And third, this is the USP. This is your unique selling proposition. If it's your own unique data, as many of you mentioned, you guys are using your own unique proprietary data, aggregated, of course. This is your USP. This is your unique take on the market that pretty much no one else or very few other companies can provide. Next slide. So when this COVID-19 pandemic started, of course, things were very much up in the air, hectic. There were a lot of unknowns out there. Marketers were hesitant and asking questions. What do we do? When should we invest? Is there a drop in consumer spend? Is there not? The risk, is just so much greater, and the margin of error is also very, very low. So what data does, if we're talking about either benchmarks, performance benchmarks, or data findings, or trends in the market, these can help make sense and basically guide marketers or guide your target audience on the decision they need to make. This is exactly what we've done. Next slide. So when this whole thing started, we in the beginning, this is you can see here an article on February 19th. We started seeing changes in the travel ecosystem. Of course, we looked at our travel apps that are our clients, and we saw significant decrease. Again, this was covered by USA Today because it was a very unique angle, very fresh, very in February 19th. This was a very, very easy, very, very good hook to use. So this is something that we covered, that got covered at USA Today. And then we very, very quickly realized that we really must provide regularly updated data trends on what the situation is on the ground. How are consumers behaving in apps? Are they spending? Are they not? Are they installing apps? Are they reacting to marketing? How are they reacting to marketing? And all these questions. Next slide. So that's when we launched pretty much this interactive data-rich dashboard. We called it the Coronavirus Impact on App Installs and Marketing Budgets. And as you can see, we update it regularly. We launched this on March 19th. So since then, we've done like 8 or 9 updates. And if you want to take a look, I suggest just Google Appsflyer coronavirus, and you'll see it right away. Next slide. Remember a few important things. Like I said, first, you want to update stats regularly. Okay, when we talk about data trends during these times when things change so fast, and can from one week to the next really make things can really I guess completely turn over. For example, next Thursday we're going to pull some data, and it would be interesting to see how the relative ease of some of the lockdown restrictions, how will that affect app behavior. So this has to be updated regularly, weekly or bi-weekly. Otherwise, we're just gonna end. Okay, so one more thing is to be specific. You want to be very specific and not broad in your data, not overall global trends, but if possible, regional trends. You want to allow time for pitching, so give reporters a day or two before you publish. Of course, you want to offer email subscriptions, and have that your users give your users the ability to sign up for regular updates of this specific type of content. And don't exploit the situation, okay? So just be positive with pitching. We don't use paid marketing. We don't use any big visuals of the virus. We don't use fear tactics. We just we try to be compassionate and understanding. Next slide. So I know a lot of marketers are saying, they're good with words, but not numbers. And I get that. But honestly, the basics it's not rocket science. You can go on YouTube. There are hundreds and hundreds of videos on how to use pivot tables. It is possible, okay? It's not rocket science. Next slide. Having said that, if you are not sure about using numbers, and I get that, then really find a resource in your company that knows. In my case, I found someone in finance who really taught me everything there is to know about Excel. Don't go to Michael Scott, of course. Next slide. Another option is, another thing that I get is that if people would say my data sample isn't large enough. So again, it doesn't necessarily have to be a statistically robust benchmark. You can use words to say a data analysis we ran indicates that, right? And use 10 clients, 15 clients, 20 clients. As long as you aggregate the data, that should be okay. Next slide. Okay, so the success was imminent. I mean, so far we have like this dashboard, about 35,000 page views. And as you can see, a lot coming from direct and organic search, which really shows real pure interest. Next. As an industry leader, it means that other industry players follow suit. So after we released our own benchmarking tool for COVID-19, we've seen a lot of other players do the same. But again, if you're a leader, then use data at the right time, then you should be good. Next slide. One more thing. Basically, of course, you want to understand it's mostly coronavirus, so you got to stay relevant. Of course, your content has to be about coronavirus and look at unique angles that you can contribute to and help your consumers during these times. But also, next slide. Remember, it's not all coronavirus. Okay, now we're already almost 2 months into this, and there is some content fatigue around coronavirus. So remember, keep doing what you've always been doing. Put up content that is unrelated to coronavirus as well. Next slide. That's it, guys. I'm done. Thank you. Stay safe. I'm going to pass it on now to Iris from Monday, online marketing expert, who will talk to you about proactive user acquisition. Thanks.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Shani. So I'm Iris. I'm an online marketing expert here in monday.com. And today I want to take you on a journey of how we, in terms of user acquisition, were affected by this time of uncertainty and how we try to tackle it. So the world has changed. We saw businesses that shut down, had to reduce costs or lay off employees. Interpersonal communication shifted from physical to Zoom meetings, and we're all working from home. So as some of you may know, monday.com is a platform for teams to manage their work better together, collaborate on projects, and basically manage any aspect of work. So obviously, when the whole world of work was changing tremendously, it affected us as a company, and obviously it affected our marketing strategy. So we noticed a lot of things have changed, and one of the things that changed is the traffic mix. So first of all, there was a new situation in the world and people were looking for a solution. So we really saw right from the beginning that that keywords such as remote work or work from home really spiked. People were looking for those in Google. And we created new campaigns and actually targeted a new audience. And also, we had a new audience of people that never actually used a project management or an online work tool to manage their work. Another thing that changed is our user behavior. So they started working from home, and they worked on different hours, different devices, smaller screen size, slower internet connection. Our user intent has changed. So in times of uncertainty, people don't want to commit for a long period. Also, people or companies have to allocate their budgets. They have to downgrade. The small companies have less money they can afford themselves to spend. And on the other hand, big companies needed more seats for their employees as they were all working from home. So a lot of things have changed, and we realized that we need to change our marketing strategy. So I just want to see how many of you had to change your marketing strategy due to the COVID-19. Cool. Can we see the results? Yeah, so makes sense that everyone reacted. Cool. So if we're looking at Monday or our marketing in Monday prior to the Corona situation, our messaging used to be improve your teamwork, reduce meetings. And here on this page, you can see an example for a landing page that we used to have. And you can see the team is sitting together. So we realized right from the beginning that we have to adjust our messaging to relate to our customers. So we iterated and we created these two landing pages. So you can see that we wanted to show our remote work benefits of the platform. We changed the copy to talk more on this pain point, and you can see on the asset that the people are communicating via Zoom remotely and globally. In the next iteration, it was somewhere in the middle of the whole crisis. We understood that people actually have had enough of Zoom meetings. They miss their coworkers, and they miss the feeling as if they're working in the office together. So we decided to sharpen our messaging and show our added value for the long run. We went back for our product fundamentals, and we wanted to show here the team that is collaborating and engaging with each other. And here you can see that the people are inside of squares and circles, but not like in the Zoom concept of the previous landing page. Now it's like talking more in a Monday language. In the next iteration, we created a landing page that is more focused on the platform. So it's still focused on people, and you can see the people here talking or engaging with each other. But we took it to a different messaging. We wanted to show Monday as a virtual workspace and as a hub, a project management online tool to manage teamwork. And we wanted to give the people the feeling as if they're working in the office together with their colleagues. So through the whole process, we needed to move fast and learn as we go. So we couldn't rely on A/B testing in order to know what is working, because we just didn't have the time. We understood right from the beginning that we need to make big changes, and we can't make only small changes and wait for it to be significant. We needed to move faster. So that's why we iterated really fast. So we were really struggling to get back to our performance prior the Corona situation, but we were still working on it. And one of the things that really helped us before to understand if we bring the right traffic to our website is a KPI called work signup. So work signup is a KPI we use to optimize our campaigns towards. So imagine a person is clicking on one of our landing pages and then he signs up to our product. So on the onboarding process, he gets a series of questions. And one of the questions is, what will you be using monday.com for? If it's work, personal, or school. So obviously the people that choose work are our targeted audience. This is the audience we want to bring to our platform. And this used to be a really good KPI for us to understand if the campaign is bringing a good audience, good traffic or not. But since the corona started, we noticed that the number of loaners, the percentage of loaners that signed up to the platform increased. It means people that came to manage personal tasks. And Monday is a platform for teams. So we understood we need a stronger KPI in order to manage our campaigns. So we shifted from work signups to work team. We decided to define a new KPI, which is work together with team. It means that the people that were defined as work team, they chose work as a goal, and then they stated that they are part of a team or managing a team. And this really helped us move forward and optimize more correctly our campaigns. Another thing we noticed is that there has been a shift from yearly subscriptions to monthly subscriptions. So as you all know, in this time of uncertainty, it's hard for people to commit. But for us, it meant a decrease in our short-term ROI. So when a user is subscribing yearly, then he pays the whole amount upfront for a year. So that's why when they shifted to monthly, it had a really negative impact on our short-term ROI. So we realized that we really have to take it into consideration when we're optimizing our campaigns and when we're evaluating the performance of our traffic. So just to summarize everything, I think the most important takeaway from everything I talked about is that times of uncertainty are a great opportunity to learn. So it's not like I showed you here a magic plan that will work and bring you the most amazing results ever. I just told you about our journey and how we tried to tackle it. So we made a lot of changes. We made big changes, and we also made mistakes, but we learned out of them. And in order to learn, you need to react fast. So as we did in the landing pages, when we iterated really quickly from one version to another, we understood that we can't wait too long for significant results, and we needed to move faster. So this was a decision that was good for us for this period. Understand the user pain points. So this is really important, and as we are all in this together in the whole world, we're feeling it, we're facing it. It's really easy to relate to the customer's pain point at this time. So when we just started, we understood we couldn't keep running with a landing page that shows a team that is physically sitting together. Collaborate with other departments. Obviously, it's important anytime, but at this time it's even more important. And for example, the work with the product team helped us to show added value on our landing pages. They were really working hard on the integration with Zoom right in the beginning, and this enabled us to show an added value in our landing page and ads for marketing. Another really important thing is create a solution that will stick. So we're here for the long run. It's not just the short run. And for example, when we shifted from the Zoom concept landing pages that gave a solution for a really specific pain to the more virtual workspace and online platform, this is something that will stick, and we can still use this messaging also after everything ends, and this is really something that more present our product. And most importantly in user acquisition is rethink your KPIs. So when the whole world is changing, the user intent is changing, the traffic mix is changing, you can't expect to look at your KPIs or look at your performance the same way as you used to before. So if it's by defining new KPIs, if it's by optimizing more sharply, you can decide for your product, your company, what fits for you. Maybe at this time it's better for you to decrease your spends. It's also fine. But also you can take it as expecting to see a lower performance at this time, but think of a strategy of how to utilize this traffic. Maybe invest more in retaining those users, and maybe even in the future retarget them to come back and use your product. And most importantly is be proactive. Don't just wait for things to happen. Make it happen. Make changes, and just don't be afraid to do mistakes, because you'll only learn from it, and that's it. And I'm really happy to present Caroline from Appsflyer. She's the organic growth lead, and she's going to talk to you about uncertain time call for agile marketing. So thank you.
Thank you, Iris. So yeah, as Iris mentioned, I'm going to talk about uncertain times, calling for agile marketing. I am the organic growth lead at Appsflyer, and the work that we do encompasses a bit of content strategy, a bit of SEO, and a bit of CRO. Next slide. This is basically a slide that illustrates sort of how me and Shani were feeling on January 1, 2020. We finished our content strategy for the year. We had everything planned. We had our gap analysis, our content calendar. And then, you know, mid-February rolled through, and we kind of understood that, like, you know, with this whole new reality, with a global pandemic, with this new normal, that we would have to really understand and remap our steps forward. What I want to discuss today is a major lesson that we learned, as well as a tactic that I strongly recommend taking in these uncertain times. Next slide. So the first thing I want to talk about is staying agile. And I'll run through this part quickly because I do want to put a bit more focus on the actionable items towards the end. So next slide. I put together a few quick do's and don'ts. I think the name of the game that you guys have heard from all the speakers today is think fast and act smart. Do's, we have supporting internal teams and creating content that really drives value. Wouldn't recommend dropping everything to focus only on COVID-related topics. That will leave your content strategy vulnerable to holes and also isn't necessarily supporting your marketing funnel. Another do is try to find strategic opportunities and search to drive more organic traffic. And I'll get into that in a little bit. Wouldn't recommend trying to rank for a keyword category that has zero relation to your niche. I actually had a friend call me 2 weeks ago who has a company that's name is quite similar to some of the terms that we're hearing around the coronavirus. And asking me, like, if she thinks there's an opportunity for her company or her brand to somehow steal territory in search. And I strongly recommended against it, and really recommended an approach that both Yael and Shani have taken, which is really providing value to users and, you know, coming from a place of empathy. The third do, okay, backslide, thank you. The third do is take this time to refresh, reuse, and repurpose older content, something that I'm gonna really hash in the next few slides. And the don't is don't only focus on creating more and more content, because in times with people saturated 24/7 on social media, you really have to be careful about what you're producing and, again, making sure that it's valuable. Next slide. I see that Valerie's here, who's on my team at Appsflyer, and she helped lead some of these initiatives. These are a few examples of how our organic growth team helped support some of the initiatives that the company was doing. On the left, there's an example of a split screen login page and content about how our products can help our current customers ease their workflow. To the right, we have two sort of promotional things. One is an email signature and another is an interstitial that we had on the top of our site, leading to this content that Shani was referring to earlier. Next slide. Here are a few of the logos that we got backlinks to, totally organically, by the way, from the content that Shini created. I think that what we did is really work together to figure out what were the right key terms to have in these articles, how could we optimize the title and the meta description, sort of your basic SEO 1, 2, 3s, and a little bit of optimization went a long way, as you can see here. Next slide. So the second part of the presentation, I actually want to focus on focusing on what you already have. I think that this is one of the biggest opportunities, especially for those with limited budget and sort of resources that are limited at this point in time. Next slide. This is basically my way of saying have a content strategy if you don't. All this slide, all the flow chart around here, do you have a 2020 content strategy? No? Well, now's the time to have one. If you do, have you updated it since? If not, now's the time to update it. If yes, you're less than probably 1% of the people in here. Next slide. So there's an interesting quote statistic around the fact that 30% of B2B marketers have a documented content strategy, but at the same time, one of their biggest concerns is that there isn't enough budget to create high quality content. I'm sure you guys have seen the news coming out that Google is cutting 50% of their marketing budget, and a lot of companies, big and small, are moving to remove budget from marketing to shore up the company for the near term. When people think about content and SEO, they're always focusing on creating new content. Oftentimes, people forget about one of their really hidden treasures, which is the content that they already have and how improving it can really impact not only SEO performance, but performance down the funnel as well. Next slide. So now it's time for a poll. I want to ask you guys, when is the last time you did a content audit? In the last few months, leading up to your 2020 content strategy, more than a year ago, and what's that? We'll wait a few more seconds for the results to come in. In the meantime, we can go to the next slide. Oh, here we go. Wow, I am very impressed, 67% in the last few months. That's an amazing number. Basically, this is my model to understand, what's happening with the content. It's time for a refresh. So when we're talking about, looking back at what you had, it's talking about separating it into winners, runners-ups, and weaklings. So winners being those pages that are receiving the bulk of your organic traffic, engagement, conversions, sort of the ones right beneath the surface that just need a little bit of love around optimization, CRO, keyword updates, and then the pages that, basically they're duplicates, they have thin content on them, and they're sort of weighing down everything else. So I'm going to go in right now, next slide, to the methodology that you should use in order to give your content a refresh. The first step is inventory. Easily you can use a tool like Screaming Frog or any other web scraper to get a full list of your URLs. The second step is audit, which I'll show you a little sneak peek of what our audit looked like in a little bit. Third step is prune, or actually remove old content from your site, just like you would sort of prune a tree to help it grow. The fourth part, really essential to not forget, is relink. Once you take content off of your site, you want to make sure that those links obviously aren't leading to dead pages, and you want to think about optimizing the links of the pages that are performing well. And the last step here is promote. Always be promoting your content. Next slide. I ask myself, what would Marie Kondo do? The biggest things to look for in an audit are, organic traffic and conversions over the past year, bounce and pages per session, CTR from search, publish date, internal and external links, page rank, keywords, and backlinks. Next slide. Here is sort of a shaded example of what I put together for Appsflyer's content audit. And essentially, once you have all those parameters, you can sort of sort them and mark as remain, refresh, redirect, or remove. Next slide. Why even refresh the content? Like, what will the results be once you do this? You have a better user experience. People will be going to better pages with better content that are more optimized to what their search intent was from the get-go. You'll have a smarter distribution of link juice, or sort of the ranking power of each of your pages spread really nicely to other pages that are quite similar. A more focused crawl budget for those of you that are more technical out there, that's a huge win. And higher quality organic traffic coming in on the whole. Next slide. At the end of the day, it is about, providing value. And we want to make sure that not only are we updating the content strategy to reflect this new normal, but you're also supporting the internal teams as well. It's not good to go all the way over to only COVID, only coronavirus content, just like Shani mentioned. But if you are in SEO or you are in content marketing, do think about what are strategic opportunities where you can help support these teams and possibly take a little bit of a leap and do something that will, prove to have value in the end. Just to review the biggest tactic that I propose right now, especially with very limited budgets and resources, is take a look at what you already have. What you already have, the content that you've done, it's good. And maybe it needs a refresh, maybe it needs to be merged with another piece of content. There's a few steps that you can take there that you'll get like really good ROI for the midterm and long term. And I'd strongly recommend taking a look at auditing your content. If you have any questions about the process, please feel free to ask in chat. And I want to hand it over now to Naomi, who will be doing our Q&A.
Hey everyone, thanks for listening so far. We've been enjoying it. It's crazy. We're still on 115 people now, so it's amazing. Thanks for staying. So we've got a first question here. How do you address the quality over quantity debate for content? So Yael, would you like to answer that?
Sure. I feel like this is like the existential debate of all content teams, is how do we balance producing the amount of content that we need in order to achieve some of our goals in terms of growth or organic traffic, but also make sure that we're still promoting quality content. So my kind of general rule is don't let perfect be the enemy of the good. That's, it's a common saying in English, and I really believe it with content. So it means always focusing on quality, always trying to put a quality product out there, but still maintaining a fast pace enough that you're able to produce content and be timely. You can have a beautifully written, artistic thought leadership piece that sits on a site 3 weeks late and nobody gets to read it. And so it's always a balance. And so one of the things that I think really helps is setting deadlines and making sure that you keep a certain steady pace, but then trying to make sure that each piece within that period of time is the highest quality it can be. And I know that in the Q&A, there was also a similar question about this. And they also asked about channels. So, in terms of channels, we use tons of different online channels, from social media to, kind of typical blog posts, ebooks, marketing content like that. But then we also here at Monday have a whole robust team that's focused on, media buying and on YouTube ads and Facebook. And that's something where Elis's team is more, or Iris's team is more involved. But either way, quality over content, classic debate. Answer to your question is yes, focus on both. Try to maintain a fast pace and make the quality as high as you can within the fast pace.
Thanks, Yael. We've got another question here. How do you strike the balance between doing customer acquisition and not taking advantage of people? Iris, I think this answer should be to you, this question. So,
Okay, so I'll try to answer. I think for our product, it was like kind of a good fit for this kind of situation, because really our product is a good product for remote team work. And we tried not to exploit the situation, so it's not like we were really aggressive with our messaging, and we didn't do it. We started with a messaging that was, as I showed you also on the landing pages, it was more remote work, and we didn't want to say coronavirus or COVID. We didn't want to put these words inside and like talk about this. We wanted to give the solution. So when we started from remote work solutions, then we realized somewhere in between that people don't want to feel remote. They want to feel the togetherness. They want to feel close to each other. And that was when we shifted really to show our value as a platform, of the not the remote side, but the opposite side, the being together. And I think one more thing that we did is that at the beginning we took some of the countries that were affected the most at this time, at least in the beginning, by the situation, and we put them inside our free tier program. It means that they could sign up for the platform and use it for free as long as they want. So this was also part of the doing good for the people and the world, and not like also like what Yael talked about, give and not just take. So I guess this answers the question.
Thanks, Iris. We've got another question here. How do you measure content performance? So Caroline, can you answer that one?
Yeah, I think content performance is actually a really fluid thing. At Appsflyer, we sort of separate our content by funnel stage, so awareness, consideration, conversion. If we are talking about, the awareness stage of the funnel, we're looking at things like, page views, maybe even content subscribers, and then a little bit further up is like, social engagement and whatnot. If we're taking a step down the funnel, we're looking at things such as bounce, pages per session, requests for a demo, signups, etc. So in terms of performance, with regards to what I was speaking about in my presentation, how do I understand if a page is performing over time? As I mentioned, there's a bunch of different indicators that I look at from an organic perspective. A few of them include CTR from search, how fresh the content is when it was updated last, how many unique internal and external links there are. That's actually quite a good one, because it's sort of looking at how your organization internally is using their content, and understanding how prominent of certain pieces. And then, very typical SEO things such as PageRank or keywords and backlinks. More than happy to send resources on content pruning and content audits in the follow-up email if you guys like.
Thanks, Caroline. So we've got last question here before we wrap up. How to create quality content? That's for you, Shani.
Yeah. Hey. Yeah. So that's obviously a very, very important question. So very quickly, what I can say is that also going back to what Yael said about quality versus quantity. So for sure, you got to strike a balance. I try to shift more. It's not a 50-50 balance. I shift more towards the quality for sure. Quality, it just goes a long way. Most important thing is that, again, if you listen to previously to what I said, if you joined on time, then data. Of course, data is super helpful, and that is a really important part of quality for us and for many other companies. Beyond that, I would say today I put a big focus on readability. I really try to create, nowadays content that's, short words, short sentences, short paragraphs, Keep it simple. There's a great tool called Hemingway that you can use, that you can actually look and see if you're actually writing in a way that's too complex, right? We're not academics. We don't write academic papers. We want to write content that people can absorb very quickly within the gazillion other articles that they see every day. Other than that, I would go deep. Okay, deep means usually at least 1,000 words. You gotta. If you want to bring real value, it's hard to do it under that. You need to be careful about fluff. Use as many visuals as you can. And the most important thing, I think, is that understand, and maybe have your managers understand, that creating quality content with all the things that I've just mentioned, it takes time. It takes time. It can take a few days to create a really strong blog post. So don't worry about it. It's okay. And you know, as long as, of course, you don't take too much, and of course, perfect is the enemy of good. So bear that in mind, but definitely be aware that it takes time, and it's okay. That's it.
Great. Thanks, Jenny. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. We really enjoyed having you with us. Feel free to send us more questions if you wish, and also your resume if you see a relevant position on our websites, both Monday and Appsflyer. Feel free to do so. Thank you so much again, and see you soon.